Why would Nigma pick a Chen into an Ancient Apparition? Isn't AA supposed to counter Chen? Well, Kuro doesn't think so, and so we're going to take a look at how it's going to play this Chen here in this game from the Kyiv major between Nigma and Gambit. As you might be able to tell from my voice, I'm a bit sick right now, I have a cold. It's also why I haven't streamed on Wednesday, but I should be able to stream tomorrow on Sunday. But I'm going to try to do my best in this game. I was alerted to this game by using Zero in my Discord. Very great Chen game here, played by Kuro, so I'm going to take a look at this and see what we can learn from him. So you'll note that he has skilled hold persuasion right at the start. It's usually not what you want to do, but we're going to see how Kuro makes this work. So he's started with a Blightstone, pretty standard. We're going to try to do a D-ward here, and indeed finds a ward. And then he's going to try to block a little bit here for Miracle, and then going to wrap around here and actually just wait around for a little bit. So by being here, he might possibly be able to snipe a courier, but doesn't find one. And going to wait for his own courier, which delivers another sentry for him. And then he's just actually going to wait around here and take this camp. Unfortunately, only files a Cobalt Foreman, which is the worst creep to get here at the start, but he is going to try to make the most of it. The wrapping around here, LTW is close to 3 here. After this, range creep's going to have level 3, and then meanwhile you have this Cobalt Foreman positioned here. This full Cobalt Foreman gets extra movement speed, so now they're going to go after him. LTW takes a point in the reflection here. Very nice body blocking with the Cobalt Foreman, plus the movement speed allows Terrible to actually get the first blood, so that's a really great play from both LTW and Kuro here. Also, this means level 2 for Kuro, and it's all taking this last hit here. It's very important as a support. If your carry is not in a position to take a last hit, take it yourself. And of course, this camp has been blocked, which is something you will usually see at higher levels. If you're playing Chen at like a 2k game or something, people are not really going to bother with this, but at higher levels, this camp is often going to be blocked either by a ward or just by body blocking it. That's also why he just went for this camp instead, but unfortunately just didn't get a very good creep, but still good enough to get the first blood. And see Earthspirit, they're coming up, trying to do something, but of course with the penitence, you can drive him off, and you really want to take the penitence here with a hero like Terrorblade. The extra attack speed is great. And Kuro is very unlucky in this game. He gets double Cobalt Foreman here, so pretty much the worst creep spawn you can imagine. Earthspirit here is trying to block this camp, and he actually does it with a roll forward, so a nice play from him. And in the meantime, Kuro is going to try to get level 3, and then he's going to take this Center Mindstealer, which is a quite useful creep for the laning stage. And very importantly, when you take a creep like that, you first want to aggro the camp, let them walk forward so the creep takes less damage when you take him. If you just take him right away, he's going to take lots more damage. And fortunately, he's a bit far forward here, and Viper is able to walk down this Mindstealer and kill it. Tries to go for the deny here, but doesn't work. But this set of Mindstealer actually removed lots of mana from the Viper. Viper had to use like 4 or 5 attacks here. These big groups are about to die, so Kuro wants to be nearby here to get the experience, and he does share the experience here. But unfortunately now he's out of position, so he's going to be run down here. Not too much he can do here, since Viper is coming in as well. Tries to go for the courier, but doesn't quite manage to get it, and he's going to die. But this is okay, because in the meantime, Terrorblade has a bit of solo experience here and gets some nice easy last hits, so this is still okay. After respawning, Kuro is going to TP to the outpost, because there's nice creeps here, and you can also try to look for this medium camp. Once you're level 3, you can find some nice creeps in the medium camps, like these Mindstealers here, and getting 2 of these Mindstealers is going to be great. You're going to steal 200 mana every 18 seconds, so that's great. He also would want to contest this rune here, but he can't really fight against Earthspirit right now. So he's just gonna go and take the second Mindstealer. So up against an AA, of course, you don't want to go for mech. You want to go instead for Medallion into Solar Crest, which is a pretty good build anyway. And against A, of course, don't want to rely too heavily on this healing. Still going to have that healing Man of God, so A is still sort of kind of a little bit of a counter, but not very much, honestly, because you know, it's just that one ability that gets semi-negated by the AA, and not everything is going to be AA ulted, and you just managed to get Hand of God off before AA ult. You still heal people, so he's just going to try to get some solo experience, and it's going to be gone on here. It happens, that's okay, but you know, with the Terrorblade, you don't want to hang out too long in a hard lane. They're just going to go in jungle now, and meanwhile Chen is going to hang out here and get some experience, which is very important for Chen. Speaking of experience, he's actually going to pull this lane forward here so it doesn't walk into the tower and die without anyone claiming the golden experience. Unfortunately, the Viper is going to take these creeps, but at least this means that Kuro is now going to be able to TP to this tower. See him TPing very defensively here. He knows that he's in great risk. He's just going to play this very defensively here, and just try to survive as long as possible. And see him already going sort of behind the tower, playing this very defensively. He doesn't know where the opponents are, but he knows anytime he might get rolled on by this Earth Spirits. And so now it's the Viper coming in. He goes far behind the tower, and they're still gonna hunt him down, but by going so deep behind the trees, it forces the enemy team to really commit to this kill. And now the rotation is coming in, they get the return kill. Nice level 5, and he's just gonna try to build up a creep army. Already has one Wildwing Ripper here. Finds the Stormcrafter, which is not the strongest creep at this stage of the game. It's really strong at the very beginning of the game and during the first night, because you get the full night vision with this creep. At this stage of the game, it's not that strong, but still it's 140 damage nuke, which is pretty decent. Nice for farming as well. Should also use, oh, I actually already used that, never mind. So it's just 140 damage, but it decreases exponentially with each target by 25%. But still, it's a decent creep, and as I said already, it has full night vision, so when it's night, this is actually a really valuable creep even later in the game. But the most important creeps at level 5 are the big Centaur and this big Hellbear Smasher. These are the power creeps, and these are the ones you look for, but you just want to have any creeps you can get your hands on. So Kuro is showing here in lane, meanwhile Miracle and GH in the trees, and they're going to get a initiation off on this Viper, and it's going to be a very easy kill. Lots of damage coming out from Invoker and from Chen, and you just want to stay back here. You can't really save this guy, there's too many enemy opponents, but still it's a 1-for-1 exchange, and they traded a position 4 for a 3. That's great. Also forced some rotations from enemy team. Now that they see this Earthspirit actually retreating, Miracle is going to go in again here on the Ancient Apparition. AA, of course, big downside of this hero is that he just has no defensive abilities. He's not particularly fast either, and of course he's very squishy, so he can easily be killed. That's also something that is important to realize as Chen, even though in a way AA is a counter to Chen, but the Chen can also counter AA if you get the good positioning off. If you find the AA, you can actually kill him rather easily with your creeps, with your penitents, and with Medallion or with Solar Crest. You find another opponent here in Alina, and it's just so much damage coming out of this this lineup here at this early stage. In this phase of the game is really your biggest power spike from like level 5 to about 20ish minutes. That's when your creeps start to fall off, but here at 13 minutes he has a very strong creep army. We'd like to see like a Centaur in there, or maybe like a big troll for the ensnare, but this army is very strong. But he's actually going to sacrifice one of the Hellbear Smashers here. He already has one, so the second one doesn't have as much value because the aura of course doesn't stack. Just going to use it to tank in this ancient creep, and then going to try to find a better creep. The lead already pings it out here. Here's a Dark Cross Summoner, very strong creep at this stage of the game. Also don't forget the Raise Dead ability, great for pushing. At top lane, a bit of a fight going on, but it's really a rather hopeless fight. And so Kuro is not actually going to TP in there, which I'm not sure about that choice. As this fight Looks like it might be turned around here, but with a great chrono here, Void kills everything off here. Honestly, I feel like Kuro might have joined in there. It's a bit low on mana though, so I guess that's the main reason why I didn't go there, because if you like TP in there, and then you recover your creeps and you're already out of mana, so I actually like the choice that he stayed down here in second reflection. You also got a decent amount of damage here on this tower, and forced TP from this Void. Kuro now killing off his Valving Ripper, which I'm not actually sure I like. I think like double Dark to summon is not that impressive. I feel like a single one is enough. And the Valving Ripper is kind of nice because of the aura provides. Nice bit of armor aura, 3 armor on everything. Which also helps out, of course, your teammates survive in Chronosphere. Here we're going to see the power of this lineup. So, they're pushing this tower, lots of heroes there. In the meantime, these 2 Invis heroes manage to get a kill here. So they have this GH, Nyx Assassin, and this Cross-Vex Invoker from Miracle that can get kills very easily. And then they have this strong, straightforward pushing lineup of Darkseer, Terrorblade, Chen. And based on this tower kill and hero kill, they can just go and Roche. Also have Penitence, which is one of the best Roshing abilities. Did put 1 point in Divine Favor, which is optional, but it's, you know, a nice little bit of heal increase. But the most important skill to max out is Penitence. It just does so much more damage. Your Terrorblade does with that, and as well as your creeps. Notice how much they actually have to buff up this Terrorblade, and also notice how easy they can get these solo kills there. So we have a hard carry like Terrorblade. You also want to have a lineup around him that can buff him up, and that's what they have here in spades. So of course they have the Invoker with his Alacrity, giving lots of extra attack speed and damage. They have Chen, who has, you know, usually some aura creeps like this Hellbear Smasher, buff up the Terrorblade, and he also has the Solar Crest, as well as putting Penitence on targets so that Terrorblade and all illusions get this extra attack speed. And then they also have Darkseer with his Surge, making this Terrorblade much more mobile, and as well as providing some auras here, Pipe of Insight, a great aura of course. So they're doing everything to make this LTW Terrorblade shine. They just spot an Earth Spirit here, and so they're gonna go on him. Unfortunately, they don't have GH with them, so they're gonna start this fight as 3. Gonna try to kill the Earth Spirit. Notice that Kuro used his Solar Crest onto Invoker, not onto the target there, because just better range. And yeah, good chrono here, and the fight does not look particularly good. Miracle is almost dead, but gets saved by Terrorblade. In the meantime, Kuro is just gonna go after these squishy ranged heroes. So the mid laner here, Lina, even though she's a mid laner, she still can't really fight against Chen when she's already used a lot of her mana on the Gunnar Blade. So notice he's just gonna go and solo kill this hero. I mean, some help here from the illusion here, but most it's solo kill. The solo kills the mid laner, and now it's gonna go after the POS 5. Notice that of course this AA, even though he's by support standards having a reasonably good game, he's still far behind Kuro in net worth. That's because Jen can farm much faster than an AA. And he's gonna go and solo kill him. And there's nothing AA can do here. It's just so slowed down by 4 levels in Penitence and the Solar Crest. So yeah, just Chen just solo killed a mid laner and a POS 5. And in the meanwhile, Miracle did die in the end, but LTW survived, so a really strong one team fight here for Nigma, and a big part of this of course is Kuro. And after losing his creeps earlier in that fight, he's already back to assembling a very strong squad here. Alpha Wolf is the most important one here. He should not just casually lose it like this. He's taking way too much damage in the Alpha Wolf, also not really stacking properly here, so Kuro, even though he's playing a really good game, is not playing this perfectly. Alpha Wolf is actually really important to keep that alive. Especially now that you don't have mech, you don't have as many points in Divine Favor. This creep's reaching quite slowly, so you have to be careful to keep those important creeps in good health. So normally if you go for the Solar Crest build first, after that you still want to go for Mech or Greaves. But in this case, because he's playing against AA, he instead is going to go for a different item. So defensive item would be very nice. So 4-star is one option. Usually the better option is Glimmer Cape. But here in this case, they already have 2 Invis heroes on their team. So you'd rather go for the 4-star, which is what he's doing here. And also helping this Invoker stay alive here. But EA just gonna get killed. Small losses. And next is gonna go for Aghanim Shard. What the Aghanim Shard does is it allows you to TP allies back to base, has a 6-second delay and can be purged. So honestly, I think this is one of the weakest shards. Not usually worth getting. Kuro is, I think the idea behind Kuro getting this here is that he's playing against this Void, so he wants to save targets that are Chronodes. But as we're going to see in this game, it's actually really hard to use this shard to your advantage. Now at this stage of the game, these Centaurs are actually no longer as good as they used to be. So in my opinion, what you should be getting here from this creep camp is a small Centaur. Having 2 big Centaurs really is not that useful, because it's so hard to actually properly land those stomps. So honestly, I'd rather just have aura creeps like the small Centaur, which gives the 10% magic resistance aura for heroes and 20% for creeps, which you know, is not huge, but it is a very nice bonus for just 1/4 of this one ability. The last couple of minutes the game has been rather slow. Neither team has really done anything, but now Gambit are just trying to sneak a Roshan, and Nigma just noticed this, so they're hurrying towards the Roche pit. Unfortunately, they're slightly too late, and Roshan has already been claimed. So what do you do here as Kuro? You creep your creeps back here. These creeps are not that great just running in. And yeah, 2 people already down, so this is not a great fight. So we just want to retreat here. And you can see all these creeps, all these Centaurs not really doing very much. And they just all get slaughtered. So a big loss here in this fight. The best creeps at this stage of the game are the Ogre Frost Mage. This little guy here gives a buff which has 5 armor as well as a big slow against targets attacking this. So we just want to spam this buff out on everything you can. Kuro unfortunately a bit of a problem with hotkeys here, sending his courier with a shard onto the enemy Faceless Void, and it dies. Not gonna have to shard for a couple of minutes now. And the heels of that fight, Faceless Void is chasing Mind Control and KuroKy here, and yeah, Kuro is able to use his 4-star to get himself to safety, and actually able to sort of turn this fight around, kill Alina, kill the mid laner, and the Void not really finding any kills, so a bit indecisive there and what he wanted to go for here, and it's going to lose the Aegis. And now all of them positioning themselves around the Void, trying to chase him down, and Void has BKB available again, so he should be safe and doesn't need to get away, but still a very nice heads-up play there from Nigma, turning around that fight, and the 4-star was a really big part of that. And even now find the Void here again and just kill him. That was definitely a bit of sloppiness here from Void. Right now they still have another couple seconds of meta, so they're going to try and force something here. Also have Catapult Wave, so Invoker even using the Alacrity on the Catapult here. And as Chen, you just want to like stay back here, chill. You don't want to go up here. Don't really want to send your creeps in. You want to stay back here and then commit them a little bit later in the fight, as you saw earlier in that fight over there, where he was able to kill Alina and then also the AA. That's because he didn't commit his creeps into the depth of the fight, just stayed back there, and then once some people were dead, some spells were expended, then you can send in your creeps. And he keeps building this sort of early-ish game army, which I don't really agree with. Like this Dark Summoner and Centaur Conqueror, these are really strong creeps at like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But at 30 minutes, they fall off a bit. You want to more look for these aura creeps, like the Ogre Frostmate, which is gone from here, or the Alpha Wolf, even the Valving Ripper with this Armor Aura. Or this Cold Foreman, which is one of the worst scripts at the start, but really good at this stage of the game. 12% movement speed aura is very powerful. So these are the kinds of groups you want to look for in the late game. Terrible is pressuring the top lane, but the Dire is willing to take a fight here and get a great chrono here and kill Invoker for free. Force a buyback from GH, which doesn't really accomplish anything. So great play here from Gambit. I talked earlier about how I don't really like this shard very much. What other items could you go for here, since you don't really want to go for mech? Well, one example would be just to go for Vlads. Vlads is a very nice aura item. Always go for this later on in the game as support if you don't have it already. You can go, of course, more luxury item like Scythe of Vice, for example, would be a great addition later on. Probably a bit too early to go for it. If you don't have a pipe yet on your team, you can go for that, but they already have one on Mind Control. You could also go for Spirit Vessel if you don't have it already, but they also have that already on the Invoker. Drum would also be a decent low-cost item to go for here. So there's a couple of options. And honestly, you can also even just go for a mech. Like it's of course not ideal against AA, but you know it's still a decent item. You know, always going to be affected by that AA ult. So even though it's kind of countered, you can still go for a mech. Roshan just spawned, which they saw because of the skeleton here, and the other team also saw it because of AA stuff. So both teams are aware that Roshan is up now. And they always drew a line up here. 10 Terrorblade to push out this lane, which is going to do. If you don't have an illusion hero like Terrorblade, you can also push out a lane like this with some of your creeps. Especially one of the lower value creeps like this Ghost, for example. Not really going to do much in a fight, but you can just push out the lane really well with it. By the way, Kuro here went for the Penitence, deals 250 damage talent, which is standard, and he went for the Penitence slow. At 15, both of them are quite nice talents, but Penitence, of course, is stronger for your team, whereas the whole Persuasion damage is it's like a bit more greedy, selfish option. Which if you're gonna rely more on pushing out waves and so on with creeps, that's probably the better choice, but here they have Terrible to do that. Kuro is still hanging around with this Arcane Ring, which is a very strong tier 1 item, but at this point, you know, come on. Take one of the bigger items, like this Quickening Charm, for example. Or even just something like Cloak of Flames, just for extra defense. Would both be very reasonable options, or you can go Spider Legs for extra movement speed. Would also allow you to sell your boots. Standoff around Roshan is still continuing. And both teams are just trying to push out waves while still maintaining the presence around Roshan. Make sure that anything can't do Roshan. And GH is now being gone on, and he is gonna die here. But the Void is also really low, so he's forced to BKB here. And thanks to his Satanic, can more or less gain his life back. This keeps sending illusions in to check how Roshan is doing. Notice that Kuro is not committing his creeps here. You could commit like one creep to check for the Roche status or something, but most creeps need to be kept back. Now he's gonna immediately use his Divine Favor, send Terrorblade back, but it takes so long. Even though Terrorblade does get sent back, he still dies in the fountain to AA. So this just shows you the problems with this shard. Even though he got this off very fast, it still was not enough to save the TB. So this fight goes to Gambit, and now they're up 3k plus the Roshan and also some other goodies here. So they have this refresher shard now. It's gonna mean 2 chronospheres in one fight. and as well as, of course, the Aegis and the cheese. Kuro now has the ultimate Centaur army, 3 Centaurs plus 1 Dark Summoner, which is the perfect army for like 15 minutes, but at 45 minutes it's usually not as good. But as we'll see right now, he's going to make the best use of it possible. So Void still has the Aegis, still has a Flesh Shard pushing in here, and now you can see this full stuff on the Centaur, able to catch the Void, and they get the kill here. So he is going to go down here. There we go. And they do lose the melee racks, but Viper is forced to retreat now, and with Void respawning, he does not quite get off the proper chrono, and they're forced to retreat. So they defend here, in part thanks to all these Centaurs, but honestly a single Centaur would have done just as well, which just shows how this triple Centaur is just not that great. Like, sure, in theory, if you get like a triple stun off on someone, you know, you can stun someone for 6 seconds, wow, but in practice, you're never ever actually gonna pull that off at this late stage of the game. Or Centaurs at this stage just too squishy. Now with Chrono down and AA dead, Nigma are gonna try to push high ground. They already got the tower earlier, so they're gonna try to pull this off, but they also have meta down. But they get a good initiation here onto this carry here, but there's a buyback from Void, so this push is not gonna go well, and they do lose the Terrorblade and Kuro, but the rest are able to retreat or start a buyback at least. So it's maybe a bit of a reckless push because they didn't have meta, but if you look at the recap here, it is indeed a win here for Gambit despite the buyback. While they're waiting for this response, Mind Control is pushing the top lane with those Iron Shells and then TPing back for the base defense. It does have buyback, but it doesn't really do very much. It's just going to keep a hold on to it, and gonna wait for this TB to respawn. They don't want to buy back here with these factions. They know they can't get megaed because they still have this tier 2 tower here. The top lane is pushed in thanks to Mind Control. So they're just gonna accept that they're gonna lose another lane of racks and hold on to their buybacks, because at this stage of the game that is more important. And now even though they're down on net worth, they know that they still have buyback on that carry, whereas the enemy carry used his buyback earlier. So they can have now this 6-minute window when there's no buyback on Void, also no buyback on AA, which of course is not quite as important, but still, they're going to have buybacks on all of the heroes. So this is pretty much the timing that Nigma need. They also have the Terrorblade, who is very strong. Most of the rest of Nigma is not as farmed. You know, this Invoker has, you know, decent level of farm, but not as farmed as this Lina. Of course, with all these items here, just deals a shit ton of damage. So even though Gambit is sort of on paper probably stronger here, because they lack the buybacks, it's not as simple. So if Nigma can take a good fight here, they can just end the game, whereas vice versa, that's not really the case. Kuro has now finally been overtaken here by this Earth Spirit, but for the longest time he's been the highest farmed support, which is Chen, is something you often manage to do. And Kuro also just, with this item build, Solar Crest first, you just tend to farm quite fast. You can also do Ancients much easier than with the mech build, so that's a big part of the reason why Kuro has been so farmed in this game. Also, of course, he got a couple of very nice kills. Roshan is up and Nigma going for a smoke. They don't really know where most of the opponents are, but they assume that they're going to be in the base. As indeed they are, so they see some opponents here. They go on to this Earth Spirit, who looks very vulnerable, but is able to actually TP out, and they get a really great chrono here onto this Terrorblade. For some reason, the Void is not really committing. It's a bit afraid here of committing onto the TB, afraid of just getting stunned afterwards. This is what allows Nigma to win this fight. and also get the gem here. Reset picked it up. Maybe they didn't quite notice here. But yeah, this AA has no buyback, which they should know. So this melee Rex is now really should fall here. Still have the meta for a couple of seconds. And there's no chrono, so it shouldn't have any fear. And the Void really jumping in a bit too far forward. And yeah, Kuro noticed that he's keeping his health back. This is the more important creep right now. Just gives a nice cloak aura against all the magic damage that the enemy team has, while the center was more in front. And his job is basically just to spam the Solar Crest on the Terrorblade and to use Penitence on whatever Terrorblade is attacking. And so with this push, thanks to no buyback here on the AA, as well as no buyback on the Void, they're able to win this game despite, before the fight, being down quite a bit in net worth. Yeah, don't be afraid of picking Chen just because any team has an AA. It's kind of, sort of, maybe a counter, but you can also counter AA if you just outplay him a bit and manage to get to AA. You can kill him really easily, which is something that AA just can't really do much about, except just having better positioning. And you can see Chen, thanks to all these creeps, he can farm quite fast. He can even do ancient creeps fairly easily, so he's, for most of this game, he's the most farmed support by far. Only at like during a brief period he gets overtaken by Earth Spirit. Yeah, Chen is not the strongest hero right now. I'm not going to claim that he's broken or anything like that. He's not broken. He's probably a bit too weak, but as you can see, if you play him well, he can still have a great impact. But as you saw in this game, Kuro did not have the best impact later on in the game. He played like the early game, early mid game extremely well, but then later on I think his play suffered a little bit. I think he's sort of a bit too stuck in his ways of using these centaurs to get stuns off, which can work sometimes, but it's so unreliable that I would not recommend it. So if you want to know what I recommend instead, go click on the video on the screen, which is my late game guide for Chen, and hopeless willing, I'll see you there.